Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning, Miss Beckley?
I'm always doing good on a Tuesday when we come on.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? It makes my
Yes,
day.
it makes my day.
Makes my day.
Yeah, it makes my
So
day.
I have a quote for you. I know that you just never like quotes. So I'm bringing you a quote. That's one of the things I love about you. Okay, but this is a bit of a tongue twister that I really had to think about. But it's a quote,
Mm.
and it's from a mentor. If all you see is what you see, then you'll never see all that can be seen.
Wow, that is kind of
But when
okay.
I thought about it, that goes right along with Women's History Month
Okay.
because like we've talked about the women that we admire. Well, the one of the people that
The
I
women.
admire is Eleanor Roosevelt
Okay.
because she just bucked the system because she was one of those that she didn't look at just what she could see. She
Hmm.
looked at the things that could be seen that are out here. You're
Hmm.
not, it's the getting out of your tunnel vision, getting out of your comfort zone. See what's out there. So when you think about that quote, if you don't, if you only see what you can see right now, you'll never see what can be seen out there. And she was one of those that could do that. And one of the things that she was known for was that when she went to the Tuskegee Air Force Base,
Hmm.
I mean, she had been told, and this is a quote from her. I've always heard that colored people can't fly, but I see them flying around here.
Hmm.
So, because she went to the Army Air Force Base in 1941. Well, now, against the objections of her security team, she's the first lady of the president of the United States. She said, "Well, I'd like to go flying." And of course,
Hmm.
Captain Anderson said, "Well, sure, I'll take you." And her security team were like, "You can't do that." And she said, "Well, what?" Kind of like, "Well, watch me." And she turned around and she went and did it. The thing is, though, that sparked a whole new thing of shattering the stereotypes of what we can do, of what we can't do. And
Yes.
that applies to women. Just so I just encourage you today, look and see what you can see out, look past what you can see right now.
Yes.
It's that vision that we have that you and I, like when we started our very first show, here we are almost we're going to be going into our fifth year.
Yeah.
We could see it, and yet right we were only starting at that first show.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I'm glad that I'm glad that you said that quote and you really gave it a good meaning by talking about Eleanor Roosevelt. I mean, is one of the like you
She
said, a stature of a lady that was epitome of, hey, I'm going to look beyond what
I'm
everybody else sees. I mean,
what everyone else sees.
and you know what I really love about that, and I always remind people when we're looking at women's history, and even the present history, is that back in the 1800s and 1900s, women were pushing that mark all the
Mhm.
time
Yeah,
because when you think about it, Barbara, they kind of had to because
right,
we already were saying what we couldn't do. I mean, people
right.
were telling us what we
Well,
couldn't
we're right. They were
right,
telling us what we couldn't do.
do as women. So automatically, it was like that in us that is
Mhm.
like, well, wait a minute. Do I
Yeah,
want to keep this the norm with this thing? Do I
yeah.
really like doing this? I mean, I know I have a purpose better than what. I mean, those
Mhm.
things were coming out, like you said with your quote,
Right.
and they started pushing
Pushing the boundaries.
boundaries,
Pushing
and
the
it gave
boundaries.
us as women till today to keep doing that and to remind ourselves to do that.
Yeah,
um like
yeah.
women's history, I know you mentioned Eleanor Roosevelt is one of your one, because I know we have many.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
One of my ladies that I love to speak on and remind myself of is Helen Keller.
Yeah.
um and some people are like, Barbara, yeah, that's one of your people. I said, you know what, because this lady, think about it. I think at the age of 7,
Yeah.
or she had that
Or
illness.
yeah, she had rheumatic fever.
Yes, and became blind and couldn't hear. I mean, both. I mean, now one couldn't hear, okay, you got to deal, at least you could see, but she couldn't do either or. So her
Right.
whole world was shut down when you
Right.
think about it because she couldn't see anything. She couldn't
Couldn't
hear.
hear.
So it's just like this silence. She's like in her own mind of, I don't, just when you think about this, when you close your eyes and if you close your ears, it's like,
Right.
you're alone. I mean, there's so many
Right.
things. And she pushed her boundary
Yeah.
and was able just because, well, one of the, the lady that, I forgot her name, but the one that helped her through the whole thing, that
Oh, oh, yeah, of course I know, and
the teacher,
her
um,
teacher.
her teacher
I know her. I've gone from me.
basically just opened that
Sullivan.
world for her,
Sullivan was her name.
yeah, opened that world for her,
Right.
and was able to give her life
Right.
through, her with just her, making sure her hands, making sure that she's feeling stuff and knowing that there's something outside of your inner brain that's, because
Exactly.
you're closed in now and she
Right.
became to be an activist,
Oh, yeah.
she's a musician, she's a teacher. I mean, the list goes on. She wrote books and a person that had a disability
Right.
twice. I mean, like two times, like I'm
Right.
saying.
Right.
So that just, every time I think of that, Barbara, and I think of if I got a headache or something or something
Mhm.
going on, I'm like, really,
Yeah.
Barbara?
Yeah.
You're making it. Think about, Helen Keller. Think about, I just think about that. That pushes me back and says, no, 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 no. Let me
Right.
take care of this, because she was able to do phenomenal things, and
Right.
she was, stricken down with two things that she couldn't, that we take for granted. I feel like some of us, we take for granted every day. Yeah.
Right. And like one of the other things that I was just came across, well, actually I'm reading the book called Slight Edge,
Oh, okay.
and they're talking, and his Jeff Olson, and kudos to the book, and really I would encourage everyone to get it. But it's in those small things, the small things that we do every day that our life is, and we don't even think about them.
Mhm.
However, some of the funny things, not the funny things, but the impactful things. One person can say one thing, and I'll give you an example. This is the one that it just floored me. In 1890, his name was Bishop Milton Wright, and he is quoted as saying, in 1818, remember it's 1890. Well, if God meant man to fly, then he would have given us wings.
Mm.
He said that in 1890. 13 years later, his sons, Wilbur and Orville, did the first flight. I mean, it lasted what, 7 seconds? But the first flight. So don't listen to the naysayers. Be one of the 5% that go past the naysayers to fly, to do your own thing, to soar, to be an Eleanor Roosevelt. I mean, you don't have to get to be first lady, but in your own mind, be the first lady,
Yeah.
and quit beating yourself up for not being there yet. It's like, and I was thinking, I was watching, a friend of ours came over with her new baby. And so I was thinking the other day, I was thinking about how a child learns to walk. Well, do you get, if when a child takes their first step, do you belittle them and yell at them for not taking 10 steps? Well, of course not. But we do that to ourselves all the time. Well, why aren't you further ahead? Why haven't you done something great? What's wrong with you that you're not doing whatever XYZ?
Mm-hmm.
And we do that all
the
the
time.
time.
Yeah.
And that's, so stop doing that.
Yeah,
And
we really beat ourselves up
we
a
beat
lot.
ourselves up.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah. And that's what Eleanor Roosevelt, she says, I am not going to let somebody else tell me something tell me what I can't do. Because she could see, I truly believe that she had a vision for the future of where the future of women were going to go. And she was going to use her resources.
Yes.
We all have gifts and talents. It
Mm-hmm.
says in the Bible that, like, I love the parable of the 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 king that went away and left left talents with his servants. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the the parable, the first talent he took it and 10 times did, and the other one
Mm-hmm.
had 5 and used it, and one buried it.
Heard it, yeah.
Don't be a don't bury your talent.
No, no.
Don't bury your talent. And the thing is, I have heard that parable so many times. And yet every time I hear it, I
Mhm.
get a new
New revelation,
awareness of it.
yeah.
That is, and that was it. And this is part of the thing of this morning was, and that's where Eleanor Roosevelt, she had her platform. She had her talent. She
Mm.
was placed being the first lady at, and in her time at the right time.
Yes.
And she impacted the airmen.
Mm-hmm.
She impacted civil rights. She
Yes.
impacted women's rights.
Yes.
Wow.
All
So
at the all in that one.
all
See,
in
that's
that
why I
one.
tell people when you make that one step, you don't know how much magnitude of an impact it's making. You
Right.
just said it, but I'm glad you mentioned that. Like you
Right.
said, she made such a difference by saying, "Well, wait a minute. No,
Mm.
I'm gonna get
I want to fly.
So you see, so she impacted the Tuskegee Airmen. She,
Yeah.
women as
Yeah.
women. I mean, just as a person to show how flight is. I mean, she
Right.
just covered all barriers just by doing that one thing
One
by
thing.
saying, "No, I want to fly."
Yeah.
And
And the thing is, and probably at the time, she was just, ooh, I'd like to do that. She probably wasn't thinking in that
no,
moment that she
probably
was going
not.
to change history.
Hmm.
However, so that's one of the things that I always share with my clients. Find the thing that makes your heart sing.
Hmm.
If you're excited about doing something, find out, number one, how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, get help to figure out how to do it. And you can change the world. Like a friend of mine and I, we are going to, we've scheduled a 2-day challenge. And I'm going to be talking about how positive intelligence, the voices in our head, how
Hmm.
those voices in our head work against us in our identity, in our impact, and in our income. So
Hmm.
I'm going to be doing that next week. We don't have all the details in the landing pages yet, but next week I'll be
Hmm.
sharing them. But if anybody wants to hear about it, just reach out to me and say, hey, you know what? I want to get a link when it happens. And just reach out to me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Uh, but we are so excited about it
Hmm.
because it does all of those things. And all it takes is just one thing
Yeah.
to change the world, because you don't know what that one thing, and it's the ripple effect.
Yes. Yes. So I'm glad she got on that plane.
I am so glad. And she probably just looked at it and said, ooh, let's
Yeah.
do it. Let's, it's going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Heaven knows what her motivation right at that moment was. But there's like, let's just do that.
Yeah, she wasn't the type of lady that you could just say no.
Right. Right.
Yes,
And
yeah.
some of the reports that I read about it, one of them, they were, like history books. They tried to just say, "Oh well, what?" She was encouraged to not do it,
Mm.
and then, of course, in one of them that was a little bit less nice, said, "Yeah, she just bucked her security system," and I loved that. It was like she just, it was, against her security, but she was that open-minded, free-spirited first lady. The
Yes,
thing is, though, especially ladies, you can still do it today.
yes, yeah.
Find that thing that you want to do today. I've talked about being your future you. We
Hmm.
all have your future you. And I'm talking to the audience here. You have a your future you. However, becoming your future you,
Hmm.
having what you want to have, doing what you want to do, starts with being
Hmm.
who you want to be
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Who do you want to be? Do you want to be an Eleanor Roosevelt?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to be an Orville and Wilbur Wright in
Mm-hmm.
a girl sense? I mean, do you want to be an Amelia Earhart
Yeah.
to fly an
Yeah.
airplane?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do you want to be? Because
Mm-hmm.
once you become, the doing and the having will fall into place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, even a Harriet Tubman, you want to be Harriet Tubman and
Yeah,
just be in the just because you have a love of people
right.
and you wanted freedom. She wanted freedom. She
Yeah,
basically was the head person to
yeah,
get people out so they can live their lives free.
yeah.
And she took
Rosa
that.
Parks.
Yeah, Rosa Parks. She just everybody took that extra, like, okay, I'm going to do this, and oh boy, it's going to be whatever, but I'm going to do
Whatever,
it.
but
And
I'm
they,
going to do it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and don't you think it's that inner conviction? I mean, I truly believe that God puts in us our gifts and our talents, and your gift might be very different. And okay, I'm going to say this, people, don't compare your gifts. Please do not compare your gift with someone else.
No.
Your gift is your gift. Their gift is their gift. Do
Yeah,
not
now
compare
you
your
speak in
gift.
my lane. You know me. I'm going to get into that about your purpose and your gifts. And I always tell people there was a reason your gifts was put in you. Just because it might be similar or seem like it's the same as another person, that gift that you bring out is going to be different than what that other person had because you have a uniqueness of yourself. So that's why I tell people, don't be comparing. Well, Barbara, Ellis, she does the playroom and she, deals with, the elderly, about senior, about making sure they know, what to do when they get older and stuff. And I kind of do something similar. You're already striking yourself down. Barbara does her thing and she does it well, right? But you
Right.
do your thing and you do it well, and people are going to gravitate to you that might not gravitate to Barbara or vice
Exactly.
versa. And that's what I tell people: don't stop that just because you see somebody else doing something similar to what you're doing.
Right. Right.
Because there's a whole bunch of coaches. I mean, you think about it. Everybody's a purpose coach. Everybody's
Mhm.
you know, oh,
Life coach
life
and
coach, and everybody.
that,
But there's a uniqueness in each and every one of them that comes out and that people's going to resonate, that needs the help from that individual. Some
right.
people are assigned just to Barbara Ellis.
Right.
Some
Exactly.
people are assigned just to me, Barbara
Right.
Beckley.
Right.
And some
And
people are assigned to our person that's coming on, our wonderful king.
well, that's what I was just going to say. Like, and probably somebody out there is wondering, well, what does that what does that got to do with having, a finance guy as your guest? It comes down to that be part of the 5%, be part of the 5% that takes the advice of an expert. Barry is an expert in finances. Barb and I are not. But you know what? It's say yes to your future. And that's what it has, is don't let someone else tell you that you can't do it. I mean, can you imagine? Here was Milton Wright. He's a bishop. His sons, really, when you think about it, threw it back in his
I
face
know it's
because
like
he, he flew.
I
Don't
know it's
let
like that. I just told people that they couldn't fly, and I
his
got my
dad
sons here doing
13
it.
years later, guess what they did? And we're reaping the benefit of it. And
Yeah.
this is what Barry teaches you how to do. Like one of the things that I wrote from about Barry, one of the things on one of his, I like to look and see what people do. And his thing is, he on his page, it said the key to successful retirement is one that doesn't require you to compromise your lifestyle or wonder if and when your nest egg will run out.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's never too late to start, because there are people facing retirement right now who are saying, "Ooh, yay, what am I going to do?"
Yeah.
Well,
Because they didn't.
you talk to Barry
Yeah.
and let him tell you what to do. And there, yes, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Wouldn't it be nice if you had started in your 20s? I'm there. Wouldn't it have been nice if I had started in my 20s? However, I didn't. However, it's never too late. So say yes to your future. Be one of the 5% that says, you know what, I'm not going to listen to the naysayers that say I can't do it.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, with that, since we're talking about the wonderful Barry, let's go to our sponsor, and then we will bring him up and get a chance to meet him and ask those questions. So we will
Yeah,
be right
you're
back.
right.
And although it may seem a little mundane, packing up boxes and being on the assembly line, what we're really doing is putting in hundreds of hours into the people on the streets who need us. And they need us in a way that none of us will ever understand. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been on the grounds every day. They know we're coming today, they know we're coming tomorrow, and they look forward to seeing us because we're the one little bit of hope that they have to have a warm meal in their bellies and to know that somebody in the world is actually caring for them and loving them. And without people like you showing up today to give your time, your energy, and your spirit, none of this is possible. So I want to really say thank you to everyone, because what we're doing here today may seem small, but it's actually really, really big, and it's impacting hundreds and thousands of families. So I thank you, I love you, I look forward to doing this with you today. My name is Serena Buffalino, and I am the founder of Help Heal Humanity. Help Heal Humanity is a charity that is focused on unconditional giving, love, and support to some of the most vulnerable communities in the world.
Okay. And we are back. So if you're just tuning in, you are in the Time to Shine Happiness Show every Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central Time. And we have the wonderful, amazing Mr. Barry Wan as our guest today. Hi, Barry.
Hello, Barbara and Barbara.
Yeah, the
Good to be
BBs.
on the
BBs.
show. BE and BB. All right.
Okay. We got to start doing that. BE and BB. I like that. Distinguish. So, Mr. Bear, I know you and Barbara know each other, and Barbara always brings the fire when it comes to guests. So I know you are a spitball of fire today, especially when it comes to finances. But I want you to kind of give us how you got to that point in your life.
Yeah. You know, growing up, I didn't have much. My parents, born outside, my mom was born in China, came over when she was 9 years old. My dad was born in San Francisco, California. Um, he became an engineer. He lost his job during the 1970 engineering layoff.
Mm.
Mom had to work three jobs. And I remember even as a kid, we had to grow our own vegetables because we didn't have enough money for food. Even when we went to the grocery store, we would look for the items on clearance, maybe the dented cans in the back shelf of the grocery store, because we didn't have much. And so that really put in me a desire to make sure that I understand a little bit more about how money works, and that I start saving for my future, even as a little kid. I remember even going riding my bike to different construction sites to find and recycle bottles and cans just for extra money. I just felt that desire even as a little kid, and so that grew into a sense of wanting to know more even as an adult. So its early beginnings was just not having really many resources when I was young. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. So I like that mindset already when you were a young kid that you were automatically saying, okay, I need to, I'm going to do this because I'm saving, money or getting money for this and understanding that. Because I know some children, that sometimes they don't think about that. They just
Mhm.
like, gimme, 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 and wherever the money's coming from, and they're okay. And they just kind of go into their world. But you already was thinking that process. So that's amazing.
You
Amazing.
know, back then, bank accounts were giving you 10% interest in your
Oh,
savings accounts. They were giving you 12% interest in your checking and savings accounts. And I remember looking at my money, and I would look at my account statements. And I would go to the bank, and they would send monthly statements. And I would look at the interest credited. And to me, even as an early preteen, I loved just having my money work for me.
work for me.
My money was my employee. My money was growing and giving me quote unquote free money because I put it to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a good way of looking at that. I think a lot of us we need to say, okay, that I think that gives you like motivation. Like when you see that, okay, you're putting your money in, but then the interest comes, you be like, oh, wait a minute, that's a little bit extra. Let me put a little bit more in. Let me put a little bit more in, and then start building that. That's like a starting point of getting you to really, understand about saving. So I like that concept about the looking at that interest because some people just put the money in and say, okay, and don't some people don't even know what interest rate they're getting. That's kind of sad. I'm just going to put it out there, but some people don't, and they don't understand the whole process.
Or one of the things for me that just sparked this little thought in me is how often right now have we just totally gone the other way where we are spending and we are paying the bank
Yeah,
in finance charges
or overdrafts or whatever.
or
I'm just putting it
overdrafts
out there, that happens.
or all of those things. How did it get to be so upside down, and
Mm,
what can we do about it?
yeah.
mm,
And that reminds me, there's something called a wealth formula for those
Mhm.
who are wealthy, and then there's a poor formula for those who are poor. And it's very simple, but a lot of us, we, even though we may know it, we don't follow it. So watch this. Here's the wealth formula. First, you got to make some money. So sometimes in an audience of 1,000, we say, well, some of you guys are out. But first, you got to make some money. And then you've got to set some aside. We say, save first, spend what's left. Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what
Oh,
is left after saving. Save first, spend what's left. Sometimes we call it the 10-10-80 principle. Give 10% away to God, save 10%, live off of the 80. So, um, so with those principles, we want to make sure that we follow the wealth formula. You make money, you save it long term. You don't save it, spend it, save it, spend it. Make sure it's invested and saved long term, and you'll grow your wealth. Now, how much you save and where you put it, and that's another discussion we can talk about, will determine how wealthy you become. But that's the wealth formula. You earn income, you save it long term, put it and invest it, and that you will then become wealthy. Now, here's the poor formula. So you start with the same. You start and you earn money. But when people earn money, what do you think a lot of us do?
we spend it.
We spend it. Yeah. But see, if we earned money and then we spent it all, we actually would be okay because then we'd have a net zero. But here's what happens: we earn money and we actually borrow money because we can make the payments on the car, we can make the payments on the house, but we can't pay it off in cash. So what we do is we borrow money, we get a loan, and we simply make the payments. Then we spend what's left, and that gets us into debt. And we continue to have that debt, which is the poor formula. So it would be great, literally, if even if we make money and spend it all, then we'd be a net zero. But the problem is that we borrow and then spend what's left, and then we're left in debt, credit card debt, loans, you know, and so following that formula is huge. You know, one thing you were talking about, and I love that quote when you started out. If all you see is what you see, you will never see all that there is to be seen,
You see.
right? And so we say a lot of times there are things that you know, and there are things that you know that you don't know. But then there's a whole lot of things that you don't even know that you don't even
Don't
know.
know.
And so that's where a lot of times I will help bring to light some of those things that people didn't even know existed. They
Yes.
say sometimes, know what you know someone or some people that know what you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all you need to know. And then you connect the things that
Right.
you know and the things that the people that that know what you don't know. And that's why you bring an expert on to your show, because there are things that you know that you don't know, and then you bring someone that does know to bring light and shed light on those things.
Yes. Or
Yes.
just even, I think even just to have a little bit different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, oh, you just get bogged down. Like one of the things that I heard, and now I don't remember who said it, was one like part of the wealth formula is just, if you live below your means, if you live below what your income is.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens so often, we get a bonus. What do we do? Or we get a raise, we go buy a bigger house or a
mhm,
bigger car. And yesterday I was talking to one of the kids. I had to take him down to get his car fixed. And a great conversation. He's 20 something, early 20s. But we were talking just about that. He said, "Well, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm doing it." And I was like, "I am so glad to hear you saying that." Because he's already thinking long term. He has part of the next few years of his life already mapped out.
Yeah. Well, I got a question because I know we talked about the wealth. I think Barbara froze. Let me see. Yeah, she froze. But
Doing a better job of it.
oh, there she
And
is.
did I freeze? Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm doing a better job of now in my 70s than I did in my 30s and 40s. What's wrong
You
with this
know,
picture,
and,
Barbara?
and that's good. You're bringing up a point that a question I have about that, Barbara, because first of all, it's nice that he's already starting in his 20s.
Yeah.
But I want to ask a question to Barry about people that lives. I always say lives, and sometimes things happen that maybe you had some control of that you didn't do well in your money,
Right.
or something happened where it just got out of hand. Maybe you've been in a marriage or whatever, and money was spent wrong, or that person, and then you
Yeah.
got a divorce. These things happen. So now you're at maybe in your 50s or 60s, and the money that was supposed to be saved or whatever didn't happen because life lifed.
Yeah.
And now you're like, okay, how do I can't do that wealth thing. I'm in the poor thing right now. How do I get out of this? Because some people, it
Right.
becomes so overwhelming for them that
Right.
any money that's coming in, they're just trying to pay lights and rent and mortgage, whatever it is. So, Barry, do you have? I mean, individual. I know you probably have individuals you deal with in that capacity, where it's like, okay, I know I need to start where I need to start, but I'm kind of like, what do I
Where do I start?
do?
But sometimes that question is just, where do I even
Start?
start? Right.
Yeah, and I don't have the money to save like $300 maybe every month right now because it's still going to stuff that I still have to pay. And
Right.
yeah.
what we do is that we take a deeper dive into what people are currently doing. It's looking at their mindset about money, their relationship with money. If
Mm,
you gamify things, make it into a game. I don't know about you, but anyone who's competitive likes winning. It doesn't matter if it's a game of Monopoly. It doesn't matter if you're gambling in Vegas. Winning is better than losing.
mhm,
So then we make money into a game. We gamify it. How do you do that? Well, there are things that I used to do, and I continue to do, is looking for ways to save. So instead of going out to dinner at a place where there's no coupon, almost always you can find a buy one, get one free. Or there are discounts that you can find online And so that little bit of savings adds up. Compound interest, the eighth wonder of the world, can be working for you instead of against you, like in credit card charges of 20 to 30% interest working against you. Watch this. This is how I became a $6 million man. For those of you who way back with Steve Austin, $6 million man. Okay, so when I was 8 years old, if I saved $10 a day, and I literally would scour all the construction sites to find recyclables so I could recycle it for money, right? So let's say $10 a day, and I'm age 61. I save a lot more than $10 a day now, but let's say I saved $10 a day, all right, and I put it into a bank earning 0.01% interest, what most of the banks now are paying, whether it be Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, okay? 0.01. Over the 53 years of saving $10 a day, I would have $193,000. Now, I sort of give you the answer, but well, I actually did give you the answer. What would it be if I put it into an account that earned me 10%? So again, $10 a day for 53 years at 10% interest would be 6.2 million. $6 million man, $6 million woman, or the bionic women, right? $6 million for those of you who know that reference. So that's huge. So all that makes the difference. Now, again, just what Barbara E said, it's never too late to start. Now, it would have been better if we started earlier, but if we have the mindset of, I'd like to get started to change my future. I can't change your past, but I can change your future. Right? So let's start doing the things that we know that we can do. And let's make it into a game. Let's make it fun. So if we can do that, then that would be a great start.
One of the things that just struck me, and I don't think I've ever thought of this before, but when you were talking about the coupons, it just hit me that if you took the money that you saved, I'm guilty of this. I would spend it on something else. But if I took the money that I saved through that coupon and put that in a savings account, then that gives you gives you even more exponentially.
Absolutely.
And
So
I'm like,
funny when
why have I never thought of that?
yeah, well, see, that's why you bring me on the show. When my kids were young, I said, hey, look, I want you to see the power of saving. So this is where I did a spreadsheet. Even when they're pre-teens, I said, look, you guys get birthday money, you get Christmas money, and then as Chinese, you get these red envelopes with money. If you save it in the Bank of Wong, well, that's my bank. I said, you save it with me, I will double what you save, and I'll give you 10%. Now, what kind of a deal is that, right? And I would show in a spreadsheet of how over time it would add up to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, one of my children, I have two, they're 34 and 32 years old now, but one of them really caught it and saved. The other one was like, no, I like to spend. So I did that, and I said, I'll only do this till you're 18 years old. So save, and watch it multiply.
Yes. I like the Bank of Wong.
There you go.
I have to admit, I remember one time, just through no fault, my second son, he cost us $17,000 the first day he was born. So we had medical bills up the yin yang for the first 2 years of his life. And one day I called my dad and I said, Daddy, I need help from the Bank of Dad. And I felt so bad, but I just said, I need a breather here. I mean, insurance paid some of it, but it didn't pay all of it. And right at that moment, I was like, all right, I need a breather here. And so I borrowed from the Bank of Dad. But you know what? Then, as I little by little paid it back, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. So, I think if we used that same mental mindset of that towards saving, it would make all the difference. But and it's never too late to start.
Yeah, a little bit goes a long way when it compounds over time.
Hmm.
So, and a lot of it too, that 17,000, if you had an emergency fund, you see there are six pillars of any
Right.
financial plan. Emergency fund is one of them, saving 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenditures. So let's say
Right.
you average $4,000 a month in expenses. So between 3 to 6, that would be 12,000 to $24,000 saved in an emergency fund. And if that emergency happened, 17,000, then you had it. So a lot of people are not putting enough away. 1 in 3 Americans have zero saved for
Right.
retirement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most people, 50%, don't even have enough to be able to, in their emergency funds, for a major car repair, like $500, $750 for a car repair,
Yeah.
because we're just not financially literate. We're not
Yeah.
educated.
Yeah.
And so one of the big pillars of any financial plan is having an emergency fund, you know, and making sure that we put it in the right place, but at least we have money set aside for emergencies. Things happen all the time. Be prepared for it.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up, Barry, because I know on another platform on with we're talking about women's history, and we brought up about money for women, and we found out two things. First of all, women will talk, and I'm to put it out there so women don't get mad at me. Women will talk about anything else, the average woman, besides money.
Yep.
There's something about us, we just, for some reason, we don't always talk about finances and money, but we talk about everything else around it. And then come to find out, there was, I'm quoting a statistic where we got it from, there's 98% women that are not ready in the age of 50 up, that are not ready to retire.
Right.
When they retire, there's only like 3% of women. I was like, that is a bad percentage. I mean, that's almost 100% of women that
Yeah.
still, and I'm thinking, okay, were all of them, and like Barry said, are we all illiterate that we didn't understand the money? But I don't think it's so much of we didn't
I think we're
understand.
I
There's
think we're not being
situations that
taught.
happen. Well, it's I think it's a lot of things. I want to ask Barry that too, because he's a
Yeah.
financial expert here, because I think it's a lot of different things. I mean, you can go from not understanding the money to, like I said, life happens. Things happen out of your control sometime, where now you're in this, like, ugh. So when I seen that huge percent for women, I was like, wow. And see, Barbara, this kind of helps you out, because I know you deal with
Mhm.
people that are, older, that are like, okay, what do I do? And
Yeah.
that's why I see so many people at my job right now, because I work corporate during the day, where they're staying on
Right.
past the retirement age, because they're saying things like, well, I just don't have enough in the bank. It just didn't happen. Things, medical stuff like happen or whatever. I'm just putting stuff out there. And, I just say to myself, okay, well, just save, or start now. And they look at me like, well, do you know where I am right now? You're talking about start now. I said, maybe just start with $1. I don't,
Right. Or
just throw
1%.
it out there, or
I'll
1%.
say 1%. Start with 1%.
Yeah.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole month devoted to financial literacy. It's called National Financial Literacy Month. Guess what month it is? See, a lot of people don't know, right?
Or no.
It's actually, and that's why it is so appropriate that you have me on right now, because in 2 weeks, starting in April, April is Financial Literacy Month, for
Oh,
National Financial Literacy Month. So that's why you have me on the show. So a lot of us don't know all the ins and outs, or at least the basics of how money works. Sometimes we think it's so complicated that we don't even want to start. So, what my firm and I do is we go around the country literally just educating people on the basics of how money works, how to get a good return, how to not pay so much in taxes legally using the tax codes, how to not lose when the stock markets are crashing. How do you protect your money from loss?
Yes.
It's risk management. How do you do all those things? And how do you make it understandable in a way that just the common, average, ordinary person can understand? You see, because I don't even know if I can share my screen. Can I do that?
Mm,
Let's see.
let's
If
see.
I share screen,
Yeah, you
share
should be able to stare.
screen. All right,
oh, this is
share.
new. So this is a new
Okay.
platform,
Can,
Barry.
can you
Oh,
see my screen?
Yeah, let me put it up.
Okay, so
Oh,
I'm
look
going to
at that.
go like this. And what we did is that this is very difficult to find now. This is from Merrill Lynch. But check this out. And the reason why a lot of us don't know the kind of things that we should know, this is direct from Merrill Lynch, an internal document. We must put limits on the amount of charity work that we do, or we will not have the time to service and grow our base of customers willing and able to pay for quality advice. If there are financial counselors that really enjoy servicing small accounts, please let me know, and I'll get you a nice salary job in the investor services group where you can deal with poor people to your heart's content. Now that's awful. And that's why a lot of times we don't know the kind of things that we should know. It's because that financial education isn't geared toward middle America. It's only given
Wow.
to the one percenters, the ultra wealthy,
See?
typically speaking. That's why we don't, these things are not taught in schools. They're not, I think there are only 5 states in the whole United States that have a basic financial literacy course by the time you graduate high school.
Yeah.
Now
And
we
it,
teach about, I think there are 45 states that have sex ed. So you learn about sex, how to have a baby, but you don't learn how to be able to manage the money for the
manage the
baby that
baby.
you'll have, right?
When
Yeah,
you have a baby, you don't know how to manage the money to
manage the
help
Yeah,
money
them.
when you had a baby. And that's a sad, that's really sad. That is
yeah.
so sad. Wow. Yeah, because I know when I'm thinking about when I was in high school, we didn't have they didn't teach. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't get it back, and I feel like now, if you didn't get it from like your parents and them understanding about
Mhm.
money, then you were kind of like you said, Barry. You're kind of out there. I mean, it was funny because my household, my dad, totally he understood about that. My mother, not so much. She was like spend, 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 because she would have the mentality in her mind was, well, oh, it's getting hot in my pocket. My money's getting hot in my pocket. I got to spend it out. And somebody told her that when she was younger. I don't know, because things come from down from generation to generation sometime in a bad way. And she just, and my dad was like, wait, hold up, we have to say. And she's like, no, I got to spend. They told me to spend, spend, spend. So now
That's so
he's,
funny.
and I'm in this
Yeah.
middle as a child. I'm like, okay, which way do we go here?
Right.
So yeah, you can pick
And
up
I
those
was brought
different.
up, the only thing that we were taught about money, and I don't blame my parents, is just pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
Pay your bills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pay your bills. But okay, well, gee, I want to buy a purse. That's a bill. Yeah, yeah, and that's all we were taught was pay your
Pay
bills.
your bills, yeah.
Well, there wasn't anything about pay yourself first, like in your business, pay yourself first. That's a friend of mine. She's a financial, and that's one of the things she does. But she talks about with small business people, just pay yourself first.
Yeah.
You pay your own salary. And she said you wouldn't believe how many business owners don't.
They can't, yeah, or they
They
cannot at
can't.
the time, yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes we give a little picture. So we say, I understand that your family is really important to you, right? And people will say, well, yes, absolutely. Well, let's pretend you're at the front door of your house. And out the front door, you have a line of people waiting to get paid. You have the house bill, you have the car bill, you have the visa bill, you
Yeah.
have the cable bill,
Yeah.
and you're paying them all off. Now, where do you prioritize you and your family? Do you put yourself at the end of the line and you only pay yourself what is left over? Or do you put and prioritize your family and put yourself first, pay you first, and then you pay the other bills later? Where do you prioritize you and your family? So a lot of times people are like, okay, I'd never thought of it that way because we typically pay our bills first and
Right.
only what's left over, if there's
That's
anything, usually there's not, do we
for
then
treat.
save, you
Yeah.
know?
Percent. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I was
That's
brought
how I
up.
was doing.
Pay your bill first.
Yeah. It's like pay your bill, pay all that,
There you
and then
go.
whatever's left, you get the crumbs or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
and then that's what you deal with until next pay period or whatever. So that's like there's why people are paying from. That's why a lot of people are living from paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes not
Mhm.
even paycheck to paycheck. They're like easing into to other paycheck, and yeah, I see that so much, Barry, and that's why I was asking the questions because I see people that are struggling in especially in the older age now because of things that happen, and that's why I was asking those questions because I always say, well, just And somebody kind of yelled at me after I said like you. I said, well, just, start saving now. It's never too late. They said, but with
Mhm.
what, Barbara? Do you understand what I just told you, the situation I'm having right now? I can't save nothing. Everything is coming out of my pocket, has to go somewhere. And there is no saving there. So I like what you said, Barry. You have to start small. Look at the coupons. Maybe if you go out all the time to eat, stop going out. Go
Right,
grocery shopping. Get, a certain amount of food. That's the kind of stuff you got to really discipline yourself and look
right.
at what you're spending on.
Well, that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I work with too, is with people, is like, I'm in the wellness space and I have a full, like, everyone, I have a full spectrum, a full spectrum meal replacement. Okay. The average person right now per meal spends $12, at 11 to $12 per meal. That's what the average spend is. Our full spectrum meal that can not only give you your health, but can give you it's only $5 a meal. And so if you would take that money that you are spending outside and put it into something that will increase your health, not only will you spend less on your health, you won't be spending money on doctors and all of the things that are related to ill health, medication, all of those things. And it's like, oh, Barb, gee, I never thought of it that way. I loved that you said that, Barry. And that's exactly what, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. There's
And
a
that
There's a
whole
one
lot of
little,
it.
that's just one little thing, rather than going to Starbucks and spending $6 or $7 on, and nothing against Starbucks. I just don't happen to be a coffee drinker, but they go to $7 or $8 on a coffee. Well, make coffee at home.
Right. So it's selling the dream of what life will be like, even if you started now, later in life, of what it'll be like in 5 years, in 10 years, of how great would it feel. Maybe what's important to them is vacation, time with family. How great would it feel for you to be able to take a vacation based upon the interest that you're earning on the savings that if you start now, that you'll be able to enjoy. So a lot of it is those little things can add up, but you've got to help people to see a vision of their future, of a brighter future, because too often people are focused on their current circumstances, how hard it is. So we have to change their mindset of how fun it can be and what a life they can enjoy if they just simply make these little tweaks. Yeah, gamify, make it into a game.
I like that. I like that, Barry. That gives people hope. The people
Yeah,
that are really struggling that, and I like it. Make it out of a game, and like you said, it's a whole mindset game. Like you said, I mean, a
Right.
mindset that you have to look at and say, okay, why am I still? There's something here that's struggling. It might not be the money because people, people blame money, and I keep
Yeah.
telling people, money is not a human being. Money is a
Right.
tool.
Money is energy.
Why are we making this a god of our lives? And it's a tool, and you can control that tool if you have the right mindset. Yeah,
Yeah.
so true.
amazing.
So
Well,
true.
thank you, Barry. You see the time and I'm glad you told us about April. So,
Yeah.
Barbara,
Right?
we might even have to replay. In fact, we should, Barbara. Maybe we should replay this for
In
everybody
April.
for
In
April, so
April.
people need to hear what Barry said about money and how it should work for you and how you should save and all that
That's a
good
good
stuff.
idea.
So we're gonna
So
replay this, Barry.
right. So what I say is that our company, my company, and rather than mentioning the name, yeah, there's certain things that the broker dealer prevents us from doing, but we're the third largest 401k record keeper provider in America, third largest. So we're a huge company. We have 75,000 licensed agents and advisors in our team. So, but we want to be able to provide an avenue or platform for people to get information for free. Yeah, for free. A financial plan for free. Financial, what would say, advice for free. To analyze a needs analysis, an understanding of what needs to be done. So, because there are 5 ways you can have more money. Sometimes I ask people, would you rather have more money or less money? Like more money, yeah, because money is a tool. It's not the love of money, but it's what money can do. When you have more options to be able to do the things that God has placed upon your heart to be able to do,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So you can get a better rate of return. That will make your money work hard for you. It'll have your money grow better. better
Yes.
rate of return, pay less in taxes, but using the tax codes, understanding the tax codes so you can use them for you, not against you. So pay less in taxes. Good return, pay less in taxes. There are ways that you can mitigate loss, that you don't lose when the stock market's crashing. So if you don't lose, then you'll have more money than if you lost, right? Good return, reduce taxes, minimize loss, and then fees. How about getting the plan, getting the education all for free rather than having to pay for it? Well, then you'd have more money. And then there's a whole thing of penalties. The last thing, penalties. A lot of us don't realize that there are ways to be able to access your money even from your retirement accounts without a penalty. You see, a
Mm.
lot of us don't know that when we just suffer taking early withdrawals from our retirement accounts, not knowing that there are different tax codes that can be used to eliminate the penalties. There are certain restrictions and all, but at least let's explore those avenues. So, those are the 5 ways that a lot of us simply don't know about that'll allow us to have more money. So, what we do is we allow people to meet with us and get the information because knowledge is only power when you apply it. But first, let's get that knowledge. Let's empower people so that they understand enough and they have a basic understanding of what they didn't know. So then they can move forward with what they know.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Awesome.
love that. As knowledge is power, only you have to put action to it. I love
Yeah,
it. Just by people that right there, that's a golden nugget that people need to carry on. Is putting action. So please put action into reaching out to Barry. You see, he's just so much good information when it comes to finances and beyond. Barry, thank you so much for coming on Time to
my
Shine
pleasure.
After the show. And we will be back next Tuesday as always. Barbara, you know I have to go to you with your. You have to leave your
Yes.
signature.
Let's make happiness the norm rather than the exception because each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, abundant life. And that's where like people like Barry come in. Reach out.
Yes. With that said, we'll see you next Tuesday and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.